So this is gonna be a quick little video discussing the state of real-time arena in starsavior. I don't know if enough players on the global server or even Asia server play enough RTA, but I have been grinding my absolute ass off in PvP for like ever since the game launched. I have now since stopped because, as you guys can see from this right here, we are gonna be hitting our Grandmaster 5, which I think is a very nice stopping point, because if the rest of the global players not gonna catch up, what's gonna happen is that we are just gonna play with KR and JP for the rest of our lives. And right now, we don't even match up with like the top of the top of the top, right? So this is like KR players should be around the 3,500 euros, right? Like, it is gonna be around this range. And the harder you climb, you're gonna see shit like, I don't know, 236 Sarahs, right? You're gonna see fucking 192 speed Lunas with like this amount of crit values and 9,000 attack. So it is just always gonna be an uphill battle. And I think 3,500 is gonna be a very nice spot until eventually more players hop on. I just wanna use this video real quick to kind of discuss what the landscape is like for starsavior's PvP, RTA, teams, drafting, bans and picks, if you guys wanna play RTA for yourselves, as well as how I built my account to be essentially one of the highest ranking players on the global server, right? So number one thing that I'm just gonna be saying overall, like a general landscape in starsavior RTA, is essentially your matches will usually be determined by defenders always. This might change with the upcoming unit Faye, because she looks to be having the ability to basically counter preemptive guard as well as evasion, so she might change everything. But then again, she's probably perma-banned, and if she's gonna be perma-banned, it's still gonna be the same thing, right? So most of the time, not every single time, most of the time, it will always be the game of who picks the highest amount of defenders will usually gain a higher advantage. Because 20% preemptive guard is too annoying to play against. And that is a fundamental issue about this game, which is RTA in starsavior is no longer just about drafting, it is about praying, right? To a certain extent, every single RTA game and every single gacha game, they will have degrees of RNG, right? E7, ETL, all that kind of stuff, they always have like action values, right? A little bit of like the rest, the chain attack, the combo attack from E7. But in starsavior, this percentage is extremely fucking high. It's the equivalent of every single defender having the potential to be a baranga. So not only do you miss your damage on the squishy, you also used up your ultimates, right? Used up your S3s, your debuffs, and whatever it's gonna be on the wrong target, or as a debuffer, if you were to land on the right target, there's a 20% absolute rest where you can just get negated. So RTA for starsavior, it feels extremely RNG dependent, even if the drafts are gonna be done at like a similar, like if you are gonna be drafting against someone that knows how to draft, it doesn't really mean they're gonna win. So like, if, for example, right, if I were to take an example against a KR player, right? Okay, like there should be no reason in the world where this guy actually loses to me. There should be none, because he is gonna be literally almost 100 levels higher. His gears will simply just outspeed, out gear, out talent, out everything you. And by all definition, with this large of a gear and unit gap, you should just like lose immediately. But because of the amount of RNG, even if you are a whale, right? Even if you have been like a 6 months head start against a new player, just because the RNG wants to fuck you, you will get fucked by the RNG. So it is what it is, right? Which is why like a lot of like, I would say like higher ranking players, they are not really engaging in RTA that much anymore. Because what is the point of like spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars only to just lose because of RNG, right? It is not a very good feeling. If you didn't lose because you got outdrafted, or you lost to like a 2 or 3% RNG, you lost because some random global player proc 20% 10 times straight. It can happen, by the way. So like, the guy is gone. There was this one guy from KR. I'm not sure if I can find the exact screenshot. Actually, you know what? I will find the exact screenshot right here from KR. Is at a generational tilt. To be fair, he was definitely tilting extremely hard. But essentially, I won this level 208 KR player not 4 times consecutively, 7. I won this guy 7 times straight, non-stop, back to back. And there is just no world where this actually happens. But every single, you can see like a common thing. I didn't show the full team, but a common thing you guys can probably see, I always draft out 2 defenders. And this guy, for some weird reason, just never ever drafts defenders. So whenever his bell tries to silence or his shadow tries to snap or whatever the fuck, I just keep blocking. And I block and I block and I block. And like his gears were like really fucking good, right? So the name of the game with starsavior RDA at the end of the day, it really is just a game of defenders. It is a game of RNG. It is a game of preemptive guard. And if you are the better preemptive guarder, you will have such a significant advantage that the opponent just simply cannot outmatch that, right? So with that being established, just a quick little rundown on how bans and picks works, which is you always first pick defenders. No questions asked. For the bans itself, you can be pretty free on what you want to ban. So for example, I ban Bunny Shouted almost every single time because my Bunny Shouted does not have Kira's Arcana. Till this day, I have almost every single Arcana in this game except for Kira, so I lose 30 speed on Bunny Shouted. Fuck that shit. So I just perma ban Bunny Shouted in case they actually have that, even though it is not that good of a ban, because if they have a Bunny Shouted and my defenders defend, she does nothing, right? So I just want to play safe and I just ban this. Usually the common bans, I would say, are usually the Rosarias, Belle, Hilde, Emily. I think these 4 are very... Oh, like Welch Ashra or Sarah. If you have like a really bad Welch Ashra and Sarah and you cannot believe that you will outspeed your opponent, then you'll ban Welch Ashra and Sarah. Other than that, for the first pick, it is usually always defenders. And then for the third pick by here, it is someone fast. Someone really fast. So if you have no one fast in your first 3 picks, you are probably going to lose. So by your 1, 2, and 3, there needs to be at least 1 unit that tries to take turn 1. This can be a Belle, this can be a Sarah, this can be a Carmen, this can be a Welch Ashra. And then by your last 2 picks, it's usually 2 DPS. Right, so that is how drafting would go most of the time. There might be some nuances here and there. So for example, if you want to play like, okay, I don't really have a good example. This is low-key somewhat as like a Cleave, right? So rank 1 global usually always first picks Rosaria. Right, because he does believe that if you were to outspeed, he will have access to 2 DPS, and you cannot stop him even if he has no defenders, and he'll just nuke team, right? So cleavers are also a way to go ahead and play, where you essentially bypass the whole preemptive guarding and go all in attack, right? Other than that, I think there's not a lot of difference. You can see like over the past couple of matches, it is almost always the same. Just different pick orders in there. There was a couple of new units we are trying out, right? Whether or not like Lin is good. Spoiler, she's not that good. Unless you have a really well built Lin, then that's gonna be that. And with that out of the way, I'll just quickly run down my current units that I have that I use most commonly for PvP, for RTA, for your considerations, right? Okay, this is by no particular order. Rosaria is almost like a must pick, must ban every single game because her damage is too high. Even if you were to go up against cleavers or tank down, right? Whichever you play, if a Rosaria is allowed to have 1 turn, because you didn't disable her, you didn't silence, you didn't taunt, she will just instantly wipe out like easily more than 50% of your entire team's HP. And there's not a single sustain right now that can match up to her AoE damage into the 50% AV advance to one-shot someone. So her damage is way too high. You have to build this if you want to get a DPS advantage. Other than that, just ban, right? So that's gonna be our Rosaria. We're gonna be running the 4-piece crit into 2-piece Valor, very standard. I gave my 100% crit rate, which it's a little bit excessive. If you want to play safe, you could just play like, or rather more greedy. You can drop down to like 90%, then give her like more attack or more crit damage. It's fine, because she really deals so much, right? She really deals so much, so it's gonna be that. Next unit is gonna be Bunny Shouted. Like I mentioned, my Bunny Shouted's build over here is actually okay for PvE. For PvP, I will highly recommend going for 4-piece speed. Otherwise, this is a bit slow. But if you have the elastic unique, it's fine, right? You get 30 speed, you can just go ahead and get that. I don't really like running B Shouted because she's very easily countered by defenders because she's single target. And on top of that, her burst damage is slower compared to normal Shouted. Because normal Shouted just S2, S3, snipe, boom. You just one-shot a squishy. Whereas for her, her double basic might either get blocked, don't crit, or just simply does not have a high enough damage compared to normal Shouted, right? So that's gonna be that. Next unit is gonna be Roberta. I think she's also pretty much gonna be a mouse build. Not because you use her every single time, but just in case you go up against Cleavers or Emily's, she's gonna be coming in very handy, right? Merely just standing there, she doesn't even need to put an S2. If you're up against Emily, Roberta gives you a lot of value because they can never cast their S3. And if they do, they'll take like a shit ton of damage. If they don't take a shit down damage, you break Emily's toughness bar, so she can't block. So I would say Roberta is a very, very nice unit for PP. For me, I literally just gave her Rainbow because I am broke. Just whatever double crit works. Ideally, if you have a Valor, just on Valor. But Rainbow sets are very, very nice in PP. And even Purple, right? Purple gears, if they roll well, they can be really, really good, right? So that is gonna be that. My crit is a little bit high. I could drop this down and get more attack or crit damage, but it is what I do. One thing for Roberta, you really, really want this. Wait, not this. This is my PV build, sorry. For my PvP build, Roberta, you really, really want this. If you do not have this, you will instantly get toughness bar broken by a Charlotte. And if the Charlotte can't one-shot you, if your toughness broken, you cannot cast S2. So this is a must pick for any, I think like anywhere above like Diamond, you have to have this on your product, right? So that is pretty much going to be that. If you don't have this, you can run Harley's Arcana, because Harley's Arcana give you +2 toughness, but I will just go with this if you can have this, right? Okay, Bell is a... Okay, this build is my PV build. For a PvP build, I will go for something like this. This is pretty much one of my highest, most best build units at 228 speed. Decent enough crit rate, ideally give her the EHR as high to 50 plus as possible, but your speed is a #1 priority. Because if you miss your crit, it's okay, but you try not to miss turn 1. Because if you were to let go of Bell's S3 on the right target, they lose 2 whole turns because of silence. So it will remove like a ridiculous amount of value. Either their Welts, their Rosaria, their DPS, whatever it's gonna be, it is really, really good. But the problem with running Bell is she misses a lot. She either missed because of preemptive guard, she either missed because she gets absolute rest, or she just gets outsped by the speed RNG. So if you run Bell, be prepared to get fouled by RNG quite a bit. And this game's speed RNG, I think, is actually 10%. Like your 228 speed Bell can get outsped by a 218 speed unit. It is actually possible. So run this with care, because if you let the enemy normal Charlotte hit you with S3, you are just gonna get one shot. She is super, super squishy, right? So high risk, high reward. If you can make it work, she will do a lot of damage. If you can't make it work, she just dies instantly, right? Okay, for Emily, I think she is personally my top 3 units to use in PvP. I gave her a really, really high speed, so 218. Ideally, actually a little bit higher would be nice, because the shield adds on a lot of sustain to any DPS. It could be a Luna, it could be a Charlotte, it could be a Bell, it could be anyone that you want to run as a DPS. So she's very versatile. And then if they do run a Roberta, you can just hold this and try to kill the Roberta ASAP, and she can self-sustain with the basic. So I would say Emily is a very nice unit, alright, giving her the speed into crit rate. If you want to give her HP build, like full tank and no crit, that's fine, but I'll do a little bit more damage. So this is gonna be my Emily build, super nice unit to have. I will combine Luna with my other 3 cleavers. So Luna, not Bell, Dana, as well as Yada, right? These 3 units are the 3 casters if you want to play cleavers. I personally don't really play them that much, because cleavers are really, really weak to disables. So taunts, silence, or like if you get outsped by the enemy, you will almost just instantly lose, because as a cleaver, you don't really draft as many defenders, right? So very, very high risk, especially if you're up against Koreans and JP a lot, and you just get outsped. I will just not draft this. It's too risky, right? So the times when I actually draft this, Luna is probably my personal favorite. So this is probably like my best build caster. 180-ish speed is okay. You could go for high speed Luna, so 4P speed. But I realize that if you go for high speed Luna, she deals not enough damage, even if she gets a turn, which is not really too ideal. So I just give her all in attack with a rainbow set, right? Literally just run rainbow. I don't give a shit. I only care about crit value, so just I'll go for that. For the thing here, you can go either AX or DX depending on your speed or crit ratio. So this is something that I have worked myself. You could make her a little bit faster, like plus 21 speed, so it's just super fast. But I personally don't really like this just because she doesn't do enough damage, right? I think between all of the casters, Luna is the most popular because she's element neutral. And if you run Dana, there's a lot of fire units now, right? There's like normal Charlotte, Bunny Charlotte, Hail Day. So she's just gonna be off element and she can't do toughness damage, which is like very annoying. So I would just go for Luna most of the time. But once again, if they have Roberta, right, if they have like any disables, it is too risky, right? So I would personally not just not run her to have like a 10 match, right? Next unit, I think we can skip through Dana. I mean, it's the same build, right? It's around the same caliber, so not too much to talk about. My Yada is ass though. This is like really bad. I would just never really run her. So if I want to build Yada, just the exact same build as Dana as well as Luna over there. Okay, during PvP and RTA, your Ashira should be a lot faster. The reason why this is not as fast is because I'm playing her only in PvE right now. And this game does not have presets, like ready loadouts for PvP and PvE content. In PvP, you almost exclusively run her fast speed. Like I'm talking 230 plus fast speed to get first turn. She pulls out your entire team and you one shot. Right? This is like a cleaver's best friend, right? If they don't ban her. But I just can't be bothered to change. I still find a decent amount of success because I'm still on 210 with full 4-piece crit. So sometimes I just give her leader and pray for the speed RNG. And then I get a crit value and she deals a lot of damage. Especially when it comes to tank down. Even if you do not get first turn, playing tank down with crit Ashura, she can sustain. Because you have tanks to block for, right? So this is my Ashura, mainly for PvE build. I give her this loadout to bring this speed out and bring way more crit rate, so she's way more consistent, as well as running an AX5. So she deals more damage. Other than that, this is going to be a DS4, right? Okay, other than Ashura, you have a very similar unit, which is Sarah. So they are both built very similarly. You want to try to give them as much speed as possible and as much crit as possible. My Sarah is honestly not that good, right? For KR and GB standard, they are like easily 235 and above. Against Global, this is honestly not too shabby. Run Rainbow, right? Just run whatever fuck Rainbow I have. Speed, right? As much as speed I can. And that is pretty much it. Very, very straightforward unit. Charlotte, usually when it comes to RDA, it's only just high speed. And you will want to make this speed as high as you can give her, so that you give her self-crit rate, and she snipes a squishy DPS purely from gambling speed. That's a use case in PvP. And honestly, I find myself using base Charlotte a lot. She is like one of my favorite units to use. Like if you take a look at my RD history, right? I think out of 10 games, I probably draft base Charlotte like 8 times. Right, base Charlotte, base Charlotte, base Charlotte, base Charlotte, alright, base Charlotte, right, base Charlotte. A lot of base Charlottes. I draft base Charlotte a lot. Because if I can get off my first turn and I snipe one of the green units, I instantly become 3v4. So I use base Charlotte very, very frequently, aside from like Bell, right? Bell, base Charlotte, they are probably like one of my more popular builds. Okay, so that is pretty much gonna be that, right? Give her as high of a speed as possible, as well as 60-ish crit rate because of the self-crit rate up. Lin, I already mentioned my build guide. I don't really use a PvP. I think you shouldn't unless you have a really well-built Lin to one-shot a Robrona. So that is gonna be that. Hilde, she is very good, but she's permaban. So even if you don't have a good Hilde build, it's fine. Because there's almost no way you ever let Hilde through, because 50% is just too fucking annoying, right? So if you do build her, give her DX12. I like to give her as high of a speed as possible. And I hope that she taunts. And if she lands a taunt, you pretty much almost just win as well, right? It's too much debuffs. Don't let her through a banner, right? Okay, done. Heidi. I think this unit is my other top 3. Because if you play a standard versus standard, what usually happens is your DPS dies, and it'll be tank versus tank. In a tank versus tank scenario, because Hilde is always bad, right? She's always bad. Heidi is just inherently always winning a 1v1 versus Emily, right? It is usually always down to Emily versus Hilde. And because she's on element, and she has like insane fucking shield, she always wins that final countdown. I think if you ever go down to that, it's gonna be very, very nice. On top of the 30% damage split, I gave mine a build of full defense, 5.1k defense, so that her shield is absolutely fucking ginormous, as well as the fact that the S3 also scales with defense. So it kind of depends on what you want. This is the build that we are gonna be rolling here, with the CX3, I believe. Yeah, just all in defense, right? Just all in defense. This unit, I don't use it for PP. Skip. Skip. Okay, Karma is kind of like your third speed unit. So if you don't have Welt, Ashura, or Sarah, you should try to get this. Because most Karmans always build high speed with high hit rate. And if you taunt, you pretty much always counter their Bunny Charlottes. Their Bunny Charlotte and normal Charlotte, one taunt S3, boom, instant break, and then they are taunted, and then they'll just come hit Karman, right? So she is almost exclusively used as my pick if I can't get a fast unit or to counter the enemy Charlottes. However, because the way that Karma works is, if you miss this taunt, she is completely fucking useless. So it's a very love-hate relationship kind of unit. And if you're okay with the RNG, I will go and pick her. If you're not okay, I will still stay with like Heidi as well as Emily, because it's a little bit more consistent, right? Okay, Hue is actually a super nice unit in PvP. But the problem with Hue is, if you run her into someone that has enough gears to kill 2 DPS, you will not heal fast enough. So it's either someone with 2 DPS, or they have a silence or a taunt to prevent your Eliza from reviving immediately. So if that happens, you will almost instantly lose. And the reason why she's not as popular is because people always prioritize defenders first. So it's defenders, speed, DPS. So for players who draft like this, if you pick a Hue last pick and you only have 1 DPS, they just bet that 1 DPS and you have almost no damage, which is honestly quite annoying to play with. So if you can make her work, I would say this is really, really good for like long matches because of the extra turn. Other than that, I don't think she's that popular. At least from all of the high-low gameplays, rarely people actually use her. But if you can make her work and she like revives the DPS, she has a lot of value. So I intentionally made my Hue slow, right? 177 is very, very slow. I didn't even max out the speed boots because you want her to be the last unit. So if she's the last unit and every enemy has already went, the moment she revives, it's 80% AV. So you can instantly take the extra turn, right? So that is pretty much Hue. I don't really use her, but you can give her a speed build and you can minus 1 turn ultimate. But it's very, very niche because so many units have extra turn, like your Charlotte and whatever the fuck. So that's that. No. Speed build, so I already mentioned. No. Not gonna lie, sometimes I see QQ, but if you were to run QQ, you actually deal more damage with S2 into S1 instead of S2 into S3. Because number 1, there's probably Roberta's. And number 2, the multiplier on the fucking basic, her basic is higher than her out. Why? Why the fuck is her basic higher damage than her fucking ultimate? I don't fucking understand this, right? So, and I want to do, if you want to play her S2, S1, bottom of them, right? Lydia, nobody plays. Okay, Lacey is kind of popular, but only for like beginners. Like in low elo, like plat, low diamond, high plat. I think Lacey is super popular because everybody built Lacey, right? But when you go into high elo, she gets very hard to see play because her AoE will always trigger Roberta's. Her AoE doesn't do as much damage, and her self-sustain usually doesn't sustain enough, where she still gets one shot by Charlotte's anyways. Her S3 and S2 is a little bit slow, like Rosaria just does the way better. The only time I see Lacey being like really useful is like the enemy is full tanks, so they can't one-shot your Lacey. Then you can pick a Lacey to counter full tank now, because you have the built-in sustain, right? But way more niche of a unit compared to other DPS. You either want all-in DPS or all-in tanks. So there's Lacey is kind of like in between, which is a bit weird. So and I want to do, right? This is a caster, but you need to give her S2, S3 really, really high investments. So if you build her right, she is basically another caster. So not too much to be said over here. All the other units is gonna be done. Nobody really uses it. Blah 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 blah. This unit might see some play, but it's very, very there's like one guy on global running this. But it is pretty distressed. So to each own. I think with that, I'm just gonna be oh wait, okay, one large unit. Yumina, right? Yumina kind of suffers the same issue as she is a bit too weak to deal the damage fast enough. So number 1, her speed not that high. So she's almost definitely getting outsped by a Charlotte. So great Charlotte, S3, snipe, she's done. She just dies instantly. Number 2, because the way that her damage is worked, right, it's bleed. This is bleed. You can miss. You can miss your bleed. Number 2, your bleed can get cleansed by Welt's Ashura. Number 3, you usually have to wait for a crit up into the full damage. But in PvP, you can't S2, S3 because that is too slow. So you have to S3 immediately to let go of your bleed. So it's S3, S2. So you're gonna be missing the crit rate buff on your first S3. And if you miss your crit, you lose a lot of damage. So there are just way better cleavers. Like instead of relying on bleed, she's like Qingyuan, bro. Right? She has back-loaded damage with bleed. So instead of running a back-loaded cleaver, you can just run like a real cleaver. Like Luna, or Dana, or Miro, or Yada, or fucking even base Ashura. Yeah, even base Ashura has like faster damage than Yumina. So it's just gonna be a little bit slow. Which is gonna be overall, right? So I am gonna wrap up this quick little PvP discussion as the rank 2 global player. I am gonna hope that more global players after seeing this video can play more PvP because I'm sick and fucking tired of playing like against KR and JP. Join YouTube, join Discord, use code ProTamazon, Word of the day is looking forward to Fei Jiao. See you guys next. Bye bye.